Hey everyone, it's Jamari with another video on BVA. Please excuse my voice, I am getting a little bit of a cold it seems, but it's been a while since I've been able to post a video. I just had the birth of my firstborn child. I'm excited to bring my daughter into this world. I just moved into my new place with my girl. So we've been dealing with a lot of stuff, but I'm ready to get back to the YouTube videos, and I figured what better way to get back into the videos than with the top 10 MCU film breakdown. Now, this will include films after Infinity War and Endgame, so Spider-Man Far From Home will be included in this list, but kicking off the list at number 10 is Iron Man 2. Now, Iron Man 2 was a really enjoyable film for me. I want to say this right now that every film that is in the top 10 I do absolutely love, and I've watched it time and time again. But Iron Man 2, I think, is the best Iron Man movie of the franchise. I think it captures Iron Man's character perfect. It elaborates on the story. It's our first look at War Machine officially, and it's the movie that brings Don Cheadle in as War Machine. Iron Man 2 is just such a phenomenal film that after rewatching it, I think you may actually look at it and be like, wow, this movie really was amazing. But going in at number 9 on this list is Ant-Man. Now, Ant-Man and the Wasp I really loved, but this first Ant-Man movie I thought was absolutely phenomenal. I loved every second of it. I thought it was great. The build up to the story was pretty good. The action sequences were extremely fun. All the characters were very lively in this film. It seemed like a cast of characters that loved working with each other. They loved the project they were working on. And call me biased, but I love Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly. Absolutely love them too. This is 40 is one of my favorite movies, starring Paul Rudd in it, so I've been a fan of him ever since. And Lost is one of my favorite TV shows of all time, starring Evangeline Lilly, which I saw a long time ago. I'm actually watching it right now. But so call me biased, but I kind of think that's why I love this movie and the Ant-Man franchise so much, because I cannot step away with it. Not to spoil my own video, but I'll get into that just a little bit later on why Ant-Man is so essential to my MCU list as a whole.
I know. It wasn't my idea.
And again, guys, please excuse my voice. I know it's not sounding all there, but coming in at number 8 on this list is Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is another franchise that I absolutely love. I love the aesthetic of the filming. I love the camera shots, the camera angles. I love the mystical and the magical elements in it. I've never really been a huge fan of like magic and magical creatures. I guess that kind of changed with Game of Thrones. But other than Game of Thrones and Doctor Strange, I've never really been into it, which I think is why I love these kind of franchises so much when they can introduce magical elements and it not seem too fantastic, if that makes sense. But the fight sequences in Doctor Strange are matched by none. They continuously are trying to bring out those Doctor Strange aesthetics when we're watching big team-up movies that Doctor Strange is involved in. For very good reason. It's visually satisfying to watch these sequences, and I don't know how Marvel did it, but they nailed it on Doctor Strange. I'm very excited for Doctor Strange 2, into the multiverse of madness, I believe it's called. Very excited for that. That may take this place in the top 10 MCU films when that comes out. But again, Doctor Strange is a phenomenal movie from the point of character growth, from the point of storytelling. It takes its time. It doesn't beat you over the head with action. It doesn't lack action. It is a very good individual movie that you don't need the rest of the franchise, the rest of the MCU to understand Doctor Strange. And that's mainly what this rating is about, and how I went into these ratings is what movies are best by themselves. But now, just quickly, I want to touch on a few that I think should be like no-brainers. So number 7 on my list is The Avengers from 2012. Number 6 on my list is Spider-Man Far From Home. I know everyone loves Avengers and Spider-Man, so I'm not going to get too deep into these. Spider-Man Far From Home is better than the first one to me. But going in at number 5 on this list is Thor Ragnarok. Thor is my favorite hero in the MCU. So Thor Ragnarok with him and the Hulk was probably the funniest and most enjoyable movie I've ever seen. Now the most important movie I think, now coming in at number 4 on this list, is Black Panther. Black Panther just in the case of what it did in the real world is just too important to not have on this list. But now, coming in at number 3, I know a lot of you may disagree with this, Avengers Endgame. Yes, Avengers Endgame is only number 3 on my list. And yes, that's a pretty high ranking when you think about there is 23 films that Marvel has released in the MCU. And to be number 3 is pretty good. That means you're ahead of 20 other movies. But I could see why people who aren't a huge fan of the MCU just feel like this might have been a bit much going on in the movie. Just please watch this with a friend who's a huge Marvel fan and a friend who doesn't care about Marvel at all and has never seen an MCU film. I guarantee you the reactions from the two will be complete opposites. Because for someone who loves the film, every little detail is going to matter. For someone who doesn't know about all the films or doesn't know all the background of these characters and events and stipulations, it's going to come off as just a lot going on and a lot of redundant heroes just out there throwing blast and stabbing each other. And just please watch this with someone who does not know anything about the MCU, and I promise you, they will tell you that there's just too much going on. I love this film. I love Avengers Endgame, but it's only number 3 on my list because the two that come in front of it do what this did better. Now, number 2 on my list is Captain America: Civil War. Like I said when I was talking about Avengers Endgame, the next two movies on this list did what Avengers Endgame did, but better. Captain America: Civil War is a film that I think perfectly blends different franchises, tells one individual story. They keep the story based on Captain America, but they bring in all of these different characters, and they give you enough time with these different characters to care about these different characters. You got to remember, this film was the introduction to Black Panther. This film was the introduction to Spider-Man. So before Spider-Man and Black Panther were even in the MCU, they were in Captain America: Civil War. And 20 years from now, mark my words, this will probably go down as the best movie in MCU history just because of what it did and the way that they did it all together. Yes, we have Endgame, and yes, we have Infinity War and everything else, and all these different films. But Captain America: Civil War was the first to be able to bring in multiple different franchises. And the way they did it was so effortless, and it blended so well, and the fight scenes were amazing. So Captain America: Civil War comes in at number 2 on my list, but it spent a lot of time as number 1 as my favorite MCU film. But with that being said, my number 1 favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Marvel and MCU continuity is Avengers Infinity War. Now, ask me this question in person. Say, Jamari, what's your favorite MCU film? What is your favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe film? And depending on the day you ask me, or the time you ask me, or the mood that I'm in when you ask me, it may switch between Infinity War or Civil War. Because those movies are so interchangeable. Now, why I put Infinity War number 1 is for very, very simple reasons. My favorite character is Thor. They bring Thor into this. I love Chris Pratt as an actor. They bring the Guardians into this. They expand on Spider-Man. They expand on Iron Man. Doctor Strange is brought into the fray. So this film is a lot like Civil War, but times 10 with the characters. But it isn't overkill in terms of story or following along or interconnectivity. what I love about Civil War that I feel like Endgame could have done better, and what I love most about Infinity War that I think Endgame could have done better is the fact that they brought in all of these characters, but they didn't do too much with it where you're only spending 10, 15 minutes a time with a group of characters. It didn't feel as rushed as Endgame. Endgame felt very rushed to me personally. And plus the snap. Is there like I know what I said about Black Panther being important in real life. Is there a more heart wrenching, just tugging on the feels moment than the snapshot in Avengers Infinity War? Like there isn't a moment that matches that. But again, ask me in person what my favorite movie is, and it may change a little bit. I do have the list of all of the films that I went through in order of where I have them ranked. Yes, I am going to go ahead and say this: Captain America, Captain Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy are all in my bottom 10. I'm sorry, it's not that I don't like them, they're just not my favorite films. But if you went on to enjoy this video, please leave a like and comment on the video. Please share this with your friends, share this with anyone who you think might enjoy this. And please do not forget to subscribe and click the bell for notifications for any upcoming videos.